Baby. Baby, is it April Fool for Diddy? I've been a fool for you. Been a fool. He gave you the runaround. Why did you do it? Baby. He gonna keep on and keep on and keep on and keep on until he gonna force them people to put that ass out the White House. Put that ass out. What? Put that ass out. Pop, 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 pop. Oh, he gonna make them put him out. Put his ass out. Oh, baby, he gonna make them folk put him out. He is going down as the worst ever. Is he sick? Is he taking his medicine? What in the world is going on? Baby. This is just a whole hot mess, y'all. Come on in, please, hitting the like button. I'm trying to pin my little message, but I don't know what's going on. I heard, oh boy, Trump done said he done made it clear, not clear, clear that Diddy ass ain't going no. Can I play? You ain't going nowhere. You're a bad boy for life.
Are you hiding, Ivanka?
Oh, Ivanka got secrets. Diddy. He ain't going nowhere. Oh, I know he's sick. And now he's scared. He hearing all these stories about people disappearing. Hey, big man. Hey, Cynthia. People coming up missing and disappearing. You know, I'm gonna believe. Well, I've been kind of believing it, but I am really thinking that they walked Epstein up out of there real quick. Now I know there used to be a video or a little meme where somebody let him run out the prison. But he may still be around, or I don't know. I need to find what I heard. Diddy is where he absolutely now that I agree, but you know, he was almost making it seem like he was gonna get a pardon, but he making it clear. I just heard him. He said he turned his back on me. So I'm going to turn my back on him. And I'm going to leave him up in there. Rightfully so, right? This is just for you, Diddy. It's for Diddy. This is new prison theme. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. You in there, dude. Come on.
I'm the definition of half man, half. Ask the clubs, bad boy.
Now ask the jailmates. The jail. Oh yeah, they laughing at you. They laughing at you.
Still here, you're rocking with the best. Don't worry if I write rhymes, I write checks.
Oh, but you can't. They won't even take your check. They won't even take your check. He said you didn't write his check fast enough, and I told y'all that man said he on revenge. He on revenge. Yeah, you know, I thought we was cool. But see, y'all was cool when y'all was taking them babies' innocence. See. Mm-hmm. And you should have known Diddy ain't never full-term loyal to nobody. But Trump said, oh, no. I don't have to know nothing. All I know is, you know, he talked real bad about me. And he want me to do him a favor. And did I hit the wrong button? I hit the wrong button. Oh no, I did. And he want me to do him a favor. And I ain't gonna do it. I can't do it. He ain't going nowhere, y'all. He locked up for life.
I'm the definition of.
Well, when I say life, I'm meaning a long time. Yeah, they laughing at you. They say Big Bubba is the boss. They say you are not the boss in there. You're a really humble guy. I'm sure you're giving away your lunch plates and stuff. You know, a few people in there recognize you. You know, giving you their music for you to hear. You all in the break room, in the lunch room, in the washroom, listening to these sorry rhymes and stuff, knowing good and damn well you ain't gonna do nothing with it. You trying to get some protection up in there. What? Harvey, TMZ, they ain't said nothing today, had it? Baby, I'm gonna have to let y'all hear it. I'm trying to tell y'all. He got smart. He probably tried to blackmail him. You know how Diddy do. I got some on you, Trump. Trump, Trump, the chump. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. You know he tried to blackmail. Oh, Trump, the chump. I got something on you, man. Yeah. And he said, oh, you do? Oh, you do? You spoke too soon. You spoke too soon. Yeah, you the sacrifice, nigga. Y'all ready? Y'all come in here in the like button. I just have to play it.
Since the notorious, see everything still glorious. We still got warriors, still be the victorious. See, it's a lot of them, but it's more of us. We still got cash to flow, raps to flow.
No, he one-upped you. Oh boy, don't be in there with your mouth open like that. Oh, you locked up? You better close your mouth. Well, you know, I guess. Hell, they need to hurry up and close his too. They say, boy, they say the U.S. is bad. Bad. Yep. Y'all better make sure y'all 401k. Your bills and shit are paid. Stay out them department stores unnecessarily. get your kids their school supplies, and sit down. Y'all ready? Let's listen to these questions he was talking about today.
It is day 194 of the second Trump administration, and it was not a good day for the Trump economy. On Wall Street, the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all lost more than a percentage point. The sell-off comes after...
Hold on. And to offset it, he done moved old girl. He knew people was gonna be talking about that. So he had to go hard on Diddy. Crunch his face when he heard these numbers. I'm surprised he didn't say it was Barack's fault. But he did say they fake numbers. No, dude, they ain't fake. You don't even understand tariffs. And I heard that a judge went off on you big time, told you are breaking the law. We got to listen to this stuff, but y'all got to hit the like button. As y'all know, I will shut it down. Let's go.
Trump rolled out a list of new... It is day 194 of the second Trump administration, and it was not a good day for the Trump economy. On Wall Street, the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all lost more than a full percentage point. The sell-off comes after Trump rolled out a list of new tariff rates on countries that haven't reached trade deals with the U.S. Those new rates take effect 1 week from today. But the big headline, the real story, was the labor market. Economists were set to see a weak July jobs report today, but it was even worse than expected.
Worse.
It was so bad.
He is the
that Donald
weakest
Trump
link.
Immediately found someone to fire. The U.S. added just 73,000 jobs in July, but the report also revised the numbers
73
for the previous 2 months. The original job number for that period was 291,000 jobs. According to the new revisions, only 19,000 jobs were actually added. That means that the job market over the last 3 months is the weakest it's been since the beginning of the pandemic. And that is a
that he brought
Trump to
back over here
turn and shoot the messenger just hours after the report came out. Trump posted
then mind you, that's all that woman's job is. She didn't come up with the numbers. She ain't the calculator. She just reads them off. So she was supposed to lie. But because she didn't lie and it made him look bad, you're fired. Gone. Go ahead. Now, man, I done told you before, your daddy, your sister, everybody in your family say that you are a loser. Now your older sister, that's a judge. Was she a judge? What was she? She said your ass is illiterate. You cannot read. She used to take your test for you, and you paid somebody to take your SAT test for you. Now, I believe it. I was finna say, I know you didn't do that. And I had to go on and stop to thy own self, be true, and stop lying. Your sister said you can't read, damn near all you can do is write. You slow to everything. And your daddy used to tell you that you was never going to amount to nothing. That's why you always try to be mad at people when your daddy is right. You ain't about it. Yeah. And then you get mad and then start lying. Saying somebody lying on you. And they have already predicted that you are going to fudge them numbers to make it seem like, see, that's all you was ever doing. People thought you was a good businessman. You just good at forging numbers. You good at hiding debt. Now, I just heard not too long ago, one of the reasons why you may have wanted Epstein out of here is because he knew all your IRS issues. Would you done lied, manipulated, hid money, all that type of stuff. And how is billions of dollars still going into Epstein account? Are you acting like you Epstein on record? Are you moving that man money into one of your accounts? What you doing? Shit's funny to me. I don't know why people expect anything else from you, but I'm gonna tell you now. I've been saying it before he got back in office and everything when he was running, that these slow ass people was going to think that you was gonna give them a chance to get that PPP money. Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. Oh, he the only president that ever gave me you slow. Just slow as you want to be. Just as slow as he is. Whatever he gave you now. We ain't gonna be able to afford nothing. They need to hurry up and get that ass up out of office. Go ahead and remove him. Go ahead and start the impeachment process. He's sending missiles and submarine missiles and shit over there to Russia. Trying to stir up stuff to get folk off that list. It sure is taking them a long time to remove his name, ain't it? How many times was the man's name in there? I told y'all, T-sippers, that old Comey, Maureen, was finna hit they asses with Florida. Didn't I tell y'all that? He know that now, though. Oh, yeah, he know. I was finna say, you reckon? Yeah, he know. Yeah. Show is taking them. How long ago was it that he told that old blondie chick to go ahead and release the... Yeah, so I know you was lying, but hell, what's taking them so long? Because they try to remove your name, ain't they? They trying to remove all evidence. You don't want no parts of none of that, do you? But you told on yourself. You told the world that Epstein stole the girls from you. From your illegal activities. You had your own good piece, and he came and took her. He stole her. See, because when you speak your truth, you sound crazy saying it, but that's how you really think, and that's how you really talk. See, in your mind, he stole her. He stole her from you, didn't he? Yeah, you had your own plans. She was making your own customers feel good on the inside. Oh, not on the inside. They was letting it out. Let's hear this. Let's hear this, Lug. You know,
fire the commissioner of labor
I can go with you
because she was appointed by former President Biden. He also wrote, without a shred of evidence, that he believes the job numbers were rigged to make him look bad.
How?
Trump talked about
Why?
firing before getting out of Washington for the weekend.
I've always had a problem with these numbers. You know, I was thinking about it this morning. Before the numbers that came out, I said,
what was you thinking about it for?
Numbers? And then they gave me stats about before the election. I had a similar problem. I mean, she gave out numbers that were so good for the Democrats. It was like unbelievable.
Yes, because it was good. Now, Tramila, you said, do I need to play it for the good people? You said the economy is good when Democrats are in office. That came out your mouth. Did you forget? Don't make AunTeaFee go back into her archives and play it for you. How dare you? The numbers were good because it was better. You even admitted it yourself. What the hell is wrong with you? They say you got dementia. Is your brain cells not connecting? Because I'm going to play it for you. Because it came out your mouth. Unbelievable. Yeah, that was the same time when you was talking about the educated black man was 10 times better than an educated white man. Sometimes you wish you was black. That's why you hate Barack. Yeah, it made sense to me that day. Yeah, I know you don't want me to play it, but I'm finna play it for you, cuz don't blame them people when you talking about the numbers was good for the Democrats. Hell, the economy was better. You said it. Hold on, y'all. I gotta remind y'all, it came out of his mouth. Folk ain't gonna believe me. They ain't gonna believe me. Hold on. I'm trying to pull it up. Yeah, at some point in your life, you wasn't just no straight up hater. You wasn't a straight up hater. See, right now you hating. You's a hater. And you did your boy Diddy dirty, baby. Ooh, you did him dirty. And you talked about him, laughed at his ass. Oh my God. Oh, I know he crying in that jail cell. Oh, I know he crying. Well, where all them people at that was saying, oh yeah, he doing it for Diddy. Diddy. Diddy on his way home. We gonna have a Diddy party. Where we at? Oh my God, why I can't find it? Let me let it play and then I will come back. Come on, y'all. Can y'all still hear me?
With, I think, almost 900,000 corrections. I think nobody had ever seen anything like it. Well, today she did the same thing with the 253,000, whatever the number was. No. We need people that we can trust.
And former officials
We
of the
sure
Department of
do,
Labor
and we
are
can't trust
sounding
you.
the alarm about this move. Egan Reich worked there from 2010 until earlier this year under presidents of both parties. He said, quote, "It's an absolute betrayal of every single person at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, whose integrity and forthrightness created the kind of stable business environment that earned a lot of people tremendous amounts of money." And Julie Su, former labor secretary under President Biden, called the move outrageous and said, quote, "Donald Trump hates facts, so he blames truth tellers." And with that, let's bring in our panel to get things going. Kayla Gardner, White House correspondent for Bloomberg, Ron Insana, CNBC senior analyst, and Natasha Sarin, former Treasury official.
Hold on. Let me remind him what he just said.
Whatever the number was. No. We need people that we can trust.
Hold on.
Official.
Person that does these numbers. And then they gave me stats about before the election. I had a similar problem. I mean, she gave out numbers that were so good for the Democrats. It was like unbelievable.
No, it wasn't unbelievable. Listen to yourself.
Myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans.
You need to stop fooling yourself and stop thinking that you're playing in everybody's face, because they will come back with the facts. And it came out your mouth, so you know why the numbers.
I always had a problem with these numbers. I was thinking of this morning. Before the numbers that came out, I said, who is the person that these numbers? And then they gave me stats about before the election. I had a problem. I mean, she gave out numbers that were so good for the Democrats, like unbelievable. And then right after the election, she corrected those numbers with, I think, almost 900,000 corrections. I think nobody had ever seen anything like it. Well, today she did the same thing with the 253,000, whatever the number was. No, we need people that we can trust.
You can't even trust yourself, man.
Officials at the Department of Labor are sounding the alarm about this move. Egan Reich worked there from 2010 until earlier this year under presidents of both parties. He said, quote, "It's an absolute betrayal of every single person at the Bureau of Labor Statistics whose integrity and forthright." Called the move outrageous and said, quote, "Donald Trump hates facts, so he blames truth tellers." And former officials at the Department of Labor are sounding the alarm about this move. Egan Reich worked there from 2010 until earlier this year under presidents of both parties. He said, quote, "It's an absolute betrayal of every single person at the Bureau of Labor Statistics whose integrity and forthrightness created the kind of stable business environment that earned a lot of people tremendous amounts of money." And Julie Su, former labor secretary under President Biden, called the move outrageous and said, quote, "Donald Trump hates facts, so he blames truth tellers."
Yep.
And with that, let's bring in our panel to get things going. Kayla Gardner, White House correspondent for Bloomberg, Ron Insana, CNBC senior analyst, and Natasha Sarin, former Treasury official and Yale law professor. Ron, I want to start with you. The entire time I was talking, I could see you shaking your head over there in the corner. So these numbers, they've rattled Wall Street. The stock market, they've raised fears for some of a recession, and now we have this firing. Where are we headed?
So I think the firing is actually a bigger deal than the numbers themselves. I mean, when you average what we've seen so far this year, we're adding about 80,000 jobs a month. That is half the pace that we saw in 2024. It's a third of the pace that we saw in 2023. It's not recession territory yet. Recessions, usually you see job losses on a month-to-month basis of 100, 200, 300,000.
He said he was going to create
this is
jobs.
a growing economy that's growing about 1.2%. Inflation's holding about 3%. But the firing of the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics is, I think, a bigger story than most people at home might realize. When you start to tamper with the
integrity and forthrightness created the kind of stable business environment that earned a lot of people tremendous amounts of money. And Julie Su, former labor secretary under President Biden, called the move outrageous and said, quote, "Donald Trump hates facts, so he blames truth tellers." And with that, let's bring in our panel to get things going. Kayla Gardner, White House correspondent for Bloomberg, Ron Insana, CNBC senior analyst, and Natasha Sarin, former Treasury official and Yale law professor. Ron, I want to start with you. The entire time I was talking, I could see you shaking your head over there in the corner. So these numbers, they've rattled Wall Street. The stock market, they've raised fears for some of a recession, and now we have this firing. Where are we headed?
So I think the firing is actually a bigger deal than the numbers themselves. I mean, when you average what we've seen so far this year, we're adding about 80,000 jobs a month. That is half the pace that we saw in 2024. It's a third of the pace that we saw in 2023. It's not recession territory yet. Recessions, usually you see job losses on a month-to-month basis of 100, 200, 300,000, as we've seen in prior periods. This is a slowing economy that's growing about 1.2%. Inflation's holding about 3%. But the firing of the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics is, I think, a bigger story than most people at home might realize. When you start to tamper with the technocrats, the bureaucrats, the lifelong career employees in the government who are putting together these statistics truthfully and honestly, and giving us the best assessment of where the economy is right now, on which policy decisions are made, investment decisions are made, and purchase decisions are made. When you start to tamper with that process, you run the risk of creating more problems than you are presumably trying to solve.
Natasha, do you see this as political interference?
You know,
Absolutely.
I am similarly as concerned as Ron, and I will say I agree with President Trump on one thing in that little intro you played. It is incredibly important for us to be able to trust the validity of government data. And until today, I think we all should have been celebrating the fact that our government data is this gold standard. It is the envy of the world that we are able to look to these statistics that give us truth and do so in this rapid response way where we're being able to understand shifts in the labor market and how the world is evolving as it is evolving in real time. That informs policymakers, that informs industry, and that informs the general public. The risk that we are taking today is that we are pushing towards a degree of political interference in this data collection that is going to fundamentally undermine the trust that we have in government. And it's not just about the BLS. It is
Girl,
about
what are you talking
everything that
about?
the government does. It is about the politicization of the Federal Reserve. It is about so many of these bedrocks of the American economy that make us feel confident that we are in fact the strongest.
Do y'all
and
understand
greatest economy
anything
in the
that she done
world. And
said?
all of that
She
is
going around
changing
in
ways that are
circles.
deeply dangerous at this moment, and I'm just so disappointed and disheartened.
Kayla, I'm curious how you see this development fitting into the president's recent comments about Fed Chair
She thinks she
Jerome
said
Powell, and
a
then
lot.
also just sort of
You ain't
see
said
this
nothing.
as part of a broader story that has been bubbling in a number of agencies. I guess from this one to say the CDC about the administration making major changes to federal data sets, in some cases just completely removing information that researchers of all kinds have depended on federal websites. How do you see this as part of a larger story of this administration?
Well, what was so interesting about the way that President Trump was talking about this decision today with reporters is he mentioned, I don't know who this person is. Who is the person who puts out these job data numbers every month? And we now know who that person is because they've been ousted the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But I mean, the American public doesn't know these people because you're not supposed to. They're supposed to be civil servants. They're supposed to be people that are behind the scenes, that are not political. And yet President Trump made this move after weaker than expected job numbers. But what's so ironic about these numbers is they are the kind of numbers that should compel the Fed to really lower interest rates. And so that is really ironic about the move that he's taken here. And yet we've seen the president again ramp up some of his rhetoric about Powell after it seemed like last week he was really letting go of this narrative. But now he's again calling for the Fed chair to resign. He says that he has no plans to fire him. He said specifically that he's worried about the market reaction, that it would disturb markets. He said that today in an interview, but he's again
Your
ramping
fake
up
ass
that rhetoric
terrorists
to really push
that you are not
Fed
even
Chair Jerome
supposed to
Powell
be
leave.
enforcing.
Ron, what happens in countries where their leaders are able to exert this kind of political pressure on the central bank, on, statisticians like this one?
Well, usually the word we would use is hyperinflation. I mean, that's basically what you could count on.
Doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't sound good at all. What happens is that the numbers become untrustworthy, policy decisions are made in error, and in some instances, with the president pressuring the Federal Reserve, and he now has a new Federal Reserve position appointed since one governor resigned today. If you pack the Fed with people who are willing to do your bidding and lower interest rates, even when it's unwarranted, and it may be warranted modestly now. We don't know, given the jobs data that we got this morning, whether or not the Fed should cut in September. But if they were to aggressively cut interest rates, as he suggested recently, by 3 full percentage points to lower the cost of federal borrowing, that would result in hyperinflation. And if you look at Venezuela, if you look at Turkey, if you look at a wide variety of countries whose central banks aren't independent and whose data are played with by politicians, the outcome has always been bad for the population.
One of the things I noticed in some of the reporting on this today is that it looks like the one area in which some jobs were actually added was the healthcare sector. What does that signal to you, Natasha? Is that a good sign? Is it a bad sign that that's the only area in which we saw some amount of growth?
What's really interesting is actually until today, there was a bit of a puzzle, I think, in the economy with respect to the fact that GDP has been slowing over the first half of this year. If you compare it to where projections were last year, they were supposed to be in the 2.5% range. We're at below 1.5%.
She asked, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
And yet the labor market was looking strong. It looked like the labor market was sort of chugging along along as expected, and those two things didn't exactly make sense. They were in some tension with each other. And now we know why they were in some tension with each other. By the way, what your viewers should understand is revising these numbers, that happens all the time. That is sort of standard because we are trying to collect this data in real time.
Oh my
and
God,
surveying all
y'all,
these
she
businesses
cannot
to try to learn
answer.
something about the nature of how they're filling roles and the nature of how
So
what their labor
manipulating
market outcomes
numbers
are actually
is
looking like.
okay.
Importantly, though, this information about how the labor market is cooling has come to us at a moment when we also got an inflation print that is telling us that tariffs are really starting to bite in this economy in exactly those sectors where these tariff rates are hitting the most, the durable goods, the furniture,
That is not his
consumer
job.
electronics. You're seeing price increases over the first 6 months of this year that are higher than anything you've seen in the last 4 decades outside of the pandemic. So the Fed actually has a really challenging job to do to navigate these two things, because on the one hand, inflation is going up, and on the other hand, the labor market is cooling, and those push in different directions.
And just more directly with respect to healthcare.
Thank
this is
you,
the one
thank
area in
you,
which,
thank
we have a labor
you.
shortage. Right, we have a shortage of nurses. We have fewer doctors who are applying for medical school and graduating, and so it's an area where the jobs are being added because we need them, and it's the one area.
And we have an aging generation here.
Aging population. Yeah, so there is some strength there, and that's been true now for several years in a row. But we're losing jobs in manufacturing. We're losing jobs in government. 154,000 government workers who have been furloughed, and are being paid their severance through September. They may apply for unemployment insurance come the fall, and that's going to make the labor market look dramatically different than it does today.
Is there a world in which the mass deportation campaign from the same administration is playing a role in these
Affecting the
numbers?
labor market, size of the labor market shrinking, right?
It certainly is, and in part, actually, that's a little bit of the story of what you're seeing, I think, is that the labor market is actually reflecting the fact that some of the trends in immigration that we were expecting in the economy just aren't coming to play in a world in which we're talking about mass deportations rather than immigration.
Yeah, okay. She really never answered it, did she?
New questions surround the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Officials say Epstein associate and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell was moved from a low-level security prison in Tennessee to a minimum security prison camp in Texas. That move, which typically requires a waiver, happened
They
just
say
days
she was
after
not
Maxwell and her
entitled.
attorney met face-to-face with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche for 9 hours over 2 days. Meetings from which we still have no notes and a less than completely clear picture of who else was even in the room. The families of Epstein and Maxwell's victims slammed the decision, saying in a statement, quote, "President Trump has sent a clear message today. Pedophiles deserve preferential treatment and their victims do not matter." For more, I want to bring in Dave Weigel, political
That's
reporter
exactly
for
what that
Semaphore,
means.
and Carol Leonnig, Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter with The Washington Post. Thank you both for being here tonight. Carol, I'll start with you and your reaction to this new chapter in the Epstein controversy. Our colleagues Lisa Rubin and Ken Delanian reported earlier today that this was technically not allowed and it would have required a waiver to make this move happen. So how shocking to you is this move, and does it, for you as a reporter, does it make you question if a deal of some sort has been made here?
Well, I think the only conclusion we can come to is that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a less restrictive facility, obviously minimum security prison camp, basically a nice.
Y'all, she can disappear. It's so minimum.
Because she agreed to sit for 2 days full of interviews. I don't think there's it looks causative. However, I will say the even stranger thing that's going on here is she's been convicted, tried, and sentenced to 20 years in prison. And the flummoxing event is what exactly is the law enforcement purpose of re-interviewing her over certain facts about Jeffrey Epstein after those facts have been adjudicated, tried, established? What is the purpose of, for any law enforcement purpose, what is it other than trying to solve a presidential political crisis? Because that's what's really, I think, in the craw of so many prosecutors and FBI agents. What is really going on here?
I want to make one correction to what I said a moment ago. I think I said Tennessee. She is being transferred from Florida to Texas. David, I guess with all of this, is Trump betraying his own brand to a certain extent here? I guess trying to get into the minds of his base for months, for years, a drumbeat asking for the uncovering of a deep state, accountability,
Oh, yeah, he definitely
names to
betraying
be
his
released,
people.
people to go down. And it seems like the only material development we've had over the last few weeks is a convicted sex offender moving to more plush digs. How is this going to go over with the people who wanted a reckoning?
Well, let's break down who that base is, because the Trump electorate changed in each of his three races, and he definitely, in 2024, added the most people you could call anti-politics, anti-establishment, little trust in Washington, and believed that Trump was going to kick rocks over and find not just whatever information the government had, but that information was going to put some of their enemies, the enemies of the anti-politics person in jail. It was going to find perfidy by all sorts of people. As soon as the administration started slow-walking the files that were not, as it turned out, on Pam Bombi's desk, those sorts of people, and you see this in the podcasters who jumped on the Trump bandwagon after not supporting him before. Those people have been off of it. The people who are staying in the coalition are satisfied with a lot of the dust being thrown up by the administration on other stories. And you saw that this week, the intensity with which the administration has been looking for any documents related to the 2016 Russia investigation, the intensity with the House Republicans who have not subpoenaed Maxwell, who are looking at Joe Biden's final months in office and whether an auto
mess.
is used.
Looking
that
at mess.
In a conservative media space, that has taken over the space of the Epstein story. The Epstein story was basically nowhere on Fox this week. The Sydney Sweeney ad story took all of the airtime that would be devoted to something like that. So for much of the base, there has been an effort that they've agreed with to move on to other topics. It's those people who, and every Democrat, but also those people who took a chance on Trump because they thought he was going to reveal everything. Those are the ones who are disappointed.
Well, Carol, one other thing that we're starting to see, and this has particularly come from some of the hosts at Newsmax, is it seems sort of this groundwork being laid that Ghislaine Maxwell may in fact be a victim of sorts. Is that what the reporting, what we know from the trial, is that what it tells us, that Ghislaine Maxwell may have been a victim in this story?
No.
Overwhelming evidence, all sorted through by FBI agents, extensive 302s, the interviews with witnesses, the actual events that occurred in her prosecution. The overwhelming evidence is that Ghislaine Maxwell helped groom women and gather them and secure them.
She's a monster.
For Epstein to have sex with or to get various sexual services from. That she was essentially a conduit through which women were acquired, young women, sometimes women that were underage, to come to his home, his island, his poolside, his mansion in New York, his mansion in Palm Beach. And so it's possible there is some element in which she has been victimized by someone, but the overwhelming evidence and the reason that she's in prison now has to do with her victimizing others.
David, it seems like with this story and so many others going on right now, Democrats have an opportunity to sort of seize the narrative to paint a clearer picture than they've been able to paint over the last few years, whether that's Epstein, or I know you've covered the Texas redistricting fight that's ongoing right now. How do you see the Democratic Party finding their footing and trying to figure out a fighting stance right now?
The Epstein story fell into their laps a little bit. I was talking to oversight Democrats as soon as Trump made those remarks at the cabinet meeting that he was annoyed the media kept asking, and they view this as a weakness for him, but not their main focus. Their main focus is what they see as, and I'll describe it these words, authoritarian moves by the president and by Republicans. So the Texas story is going to have repercussions for years in how Democrats campaign right now, but they're limited in what they can campaign on if maps around the country are, one, changed by redistricting, two, changed by a Supreme Court order. Democrats become much more worried about Trump's threats to democracy, as they've been saying all year. The Epstein thing is just a way into that got a lot of attention.
Okay, let's go over here. Hold on. Moving.
Senator, the reason the United States is the envy of
Hold
the
on. We're going to
world
start at
is
the
because we
beginning.
have trusted.
Hold on. Okay.
Senator, the reason the United States is the envy of the world is because we have trusted economic data. It's because we have an independent central bank, and it's because we respect the rule of law. When that trifecta is put in question, it could send our economy and the respect we have from the rest of the world spiraling. What is your reaction to what happened today?
Well, I think that's exactly right, and I think we're already seeing that reflected in the job numbers. These are the worst 3 consecutive months of basically stagnant job growth, the worst since the pandemic, and if you go before the pandemic, the worst since the Great Recession. And what is Donald Trump's response? Let's fire the person who tells the truth to the American people about the jobs numbers so that we can put someone else there who will lie on the president's behalf. Look, these tariff wars, tariffs on, tariffs off, have created such uncertainty that employers don't know whether to hire people. They don't know what their costs are going to be. And we haven't even felt the full brunt because Trump keeps pushing the can down the road even further. When those full tariffs are in effect, it's going to further suppress our economic growth and could send us into a recession. But on the good news side of things, Trump just got a 3rd Air Force One. Trump is building a $200 million ballroom at the White House because the one he's got isn't big enough. So his personal economy is doing really well. But for average Americans, their prices are going up.
We paying for it, y'all.
Their job prospects are going down. Our economic growth is not going anywhere. Manufacturing is not coming back. It is leaving. And more of the same is just going to be more hardship for the American people.
Sir, we know that President Trump is a showman. It's what he does. But we are talking about trust in economic data, trust in the U.S. government. When the likes of Argentina and Greece faked economic data, those moves led to major crises in those countries. Could that happen here in the United States? What are our checks and balances? We saw the president make this move today. Who knows who he's going to put in that seat? Who knows what information they're going to put out?
Well, that's exactly right. And this person that he just said he wants to fire was confirmed in an overwhelming bipartisan vote. So what's going to happen now? Is he going to put someone there who's just going to tell the public what Donald Trump wants to have the American people hear, regardless of the truth? Right. And are Republicans prepared to confirm such a person? Sadly, we have seen over and over again with the most unfit nominees that, yes, they're all too willing to confirm whoever the president wants. But once the country and the world lose confidence in the American economy, once they think we're making the numbers up, once they think we are no longer an ally because we're punishing them as we have been punishing Canada and so many other allies around the world, once they think, investors around the world, that they can't trust investments in the United States because our Justice Department only works for Donald Trump now, and he's vindictive and will retaliate personally.
Vindictive, the president.
Then the economy really suffers. Among the most extraordinary of these tariffs, the president is imposing is a 50% tariff on Brazil, a country with which we have a positive balance of trade. Now, why is he doing that? Because he wants to support a fellow insurrectionist in Bolsonaro, the former president who's being prosecuted for trying to lead a coup. Is that how American economic policy is going to work now, as a lever to try to export not democracy but some kind of dictatorship? Our standing, sadly, is going to be impacted and is already around the world as people lose confidence in the economic and moral leadership, the democratic leadership of the United States of America.
What is it going to mean for our country if we see consequential position after consequential position be filled by Trump loyalists rather than people who are loyal to the United States of America and our Constitution? It was during the transition that his now Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said, #1 requirement for any job in this administration is loyalty to President Trump. That wasn't just talk. We're seeing it play out in real time.
Well, that's certainly true. I think what it's going to mean for the American people, among other things, among the hurt they'll feel in the economy, is we'll feel a lot more like Russian citizens, where we can't believe anything the government says, where we essentially take the same view of administration officials as Russians take of the Politburo or Pravda. They know they can't believe anything from the state organizations. And it will mean that basically the civil service is eviscerated. We won't have professionals in different agencies. We'll have political hacks. And that is already manifesting itself as they roll out more and more of this Project 2025. Frankly, I don't want to live in a thugocracy, a kleptocracy like Russia. We're going to see our corruption index go up and up and up as our rule of law deteriorates further.
Last question to you, sir. All of these things that the president is doing, he said he was going to do it on the campaign trail. The surprise is how many businesses, organizations, politicians, universities are capitulating.
Oh, it's so true. And this comes as, I think, a great shock to all of us that one after another we see institutions folding. We saw ABC and CBS fold. We saw the the Washington Post and the LA Times fold with its editorial policy. We've seen university after university fold. We've seen law firm after law firm fold. We're seeing our institutions giving way, and unless we find the collective strength to stand up and push back and fight back, there isn't going to be a university left or a lawyer left or anyone left, a media station left willing to take on the administration if the administration can just bring the full force of the American government down on them. So we need to make no mistake about the path we're on. And frankly, what is so dispiriting to those of us in the Congress could put a stop to all of this. To all of this. We have the power to do it, but it will take bipartisanship. And right now, Republicans remain in lockstep with this most destructive of presidents.
Sir, I'm out of time, but then I do have to ask. Do you think the president?
Laughing. Look, you see that smirk on his face?
Firing.
Can y'all please double tap the screen and hit the like button, please?
For some of your fellow Republicans in Congress to say enough is enough.
Stephanie, every time I've thought, okay, surely now Republicans will be moved to do something, say something, they have disappointed. So I would hope so, but I think, frankly, it's going to take their constituents feeling the pain, and when they get to the point where politically they fear their constituents, firm fold, we're seeing our institutions giving way, and unless we find the collective strength to stand up and push back and fight back, there isn't going to be a university left or a lawyer left or anyone left, a media station left willing to take on the administration if the administration can just bring the full force of the American government down on them. So we need to make no mistake about the path we're on. And frankly, what is so dispiriting to those of us in the Congress could put a stop to all of this. To all of this. We have the power to do it, but it will take bipartisanship. And right now, Republicans remain in lockstep with this most destructive of presidents.
Sir, I'm out of time, but then I do have to ask. Do you think the president's most recent announcement, firing this woman, do you think this will move the needle for some of your fellow Republicans in Congress to say enough is enough?
Stephanie, every time I've thought, okay, surely now Republicans will be moved to do something, say something, they have disappointed. So I would hope so, but I think, frankly, it's going to take their constituents feeling the pain, and when they get to the point where politically they fear their constituents more than they fear the president, that's what it's going to take for them, I think, to find the courage to stand up to him.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining me. And it might not be taking on the president or the White House. Maybe it's just about telling the truth. I appreciate you joining me this afternoon.
The Commissioner of Labor Statistics after today's weaker than expected jobs report. He's accusing her, without evidence, of falsifying the data ahead of the 2024 election to help elect Kamala Harris and calling today's report into question. The Deputy Commissioner is now
Kamala Harris
of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
come up in the equation?
Former Labor Secretary under President Bill Clinton and current Professor of Public Policy at UC Berkeley, my husband's alma mater. Robert Reich, go Bears, Robert. Trump.
Go Bears is right.
Go Bears. Trump is accusing the commissioner of falsifying this data. Break it down for us. Is that even possible? How would that happen?
I don't know how it would happen. I mean, this is another example of Donald Trump destroying America's trust.
Right.
In our valuable
He's the enemy of the state
that we rely on for data about what's happening. He shoots the messenger, and by shooting the messenger, you get a country that no longer has the kind of confidence in the information it gets from very, very competent, very competent places. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is the crown jewel of our data sources in the government for what is happening in the economy. It's like the Federal Reserve Board. Trump attacks the Fed because he doesn't like what the Fed is doing, and he is undermining the public's faith in these institutions.
And based off of what?
Book, hello, this is treasonous.
Okay,
Treason.
so we did report that there was quite a significant revision in the jobs numbers from May to June. It was pretty extreme. How do you account for that? What makes that happen?
Well, the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, gets more information, and it continues to revise the job numbers it has from previous months on the basis of that additional information. This is not new. It happened when I was labor secretary. You want the Bureau of Labor Statistics to get the most accurate reading possible of not only the previous month, but months before that. So you can see what is happening to the economy over time. And what we know now is that the economy has been slowing down much more than we even knew in terms of job growth. That's important information to have. You don't want to question the source of that information. That's a kind of baseless assertion. If I can just make one more point. When I was labor secretary, and I know it's been the same since then, the Bureau of Labor Statistics was like a fortress. You couldn't politically interfere with them. There was one occasion where I made a mistake. I told an international crowd what I thought the BLS might say, what I thought that the jobs report might show, but I couched it in saying I really don't know. I'm just making a guess. But even that was forbidden. I didn't know. I was just new as a labor secretary. The rule was you don't have any political interference there. Just like the Fed, you don't politically interfere in these institutions because they have got to be above politics.
How will we know, once we know who replaces the current commissioner, how will we know that the next person is going to enact their job without fear or favor?
Well, that's exactly the problem. You just put your finger on exactly what I worry about. And the same thing with the next Fed chair. How do we know that these people are not going to be just doing it because they are afraid that if they don't do what Trump wants, that they will be fired? They'll be the next to be fired. And that possibility that you just mentioned undermines the public's faith and trust in what we get and hear from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
And let's turn to the Federal Reserve. Governor Adriana Kugler is apparently stepping down early. Her term was set to expire at the end of January 2026, quite a while from now. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't know why specifically
She's sick of
anybody
Trump.
in government will make that kind of decision to step down. There may be personal reasons, but I do know that Trump has been putting all kinds of pressure on the Fed. He's even come up with this notion that he's going to embarrass Jerome Powell by accusing him of spending too much money on refurbishing and refurnishing the Fed. That's the joke because the Fed has a headquarters that is I've been there. It's not opulent. This is at the same time that Trump is talking about putting a ballroom, adding a ballroom to the White House. This is madness. This is real crazy talk.
And why he need a ballroom?
Trump decides to replace Kugler with someone from his own shortlist. Will that change things for the Fed? The Fed, of course, is supposed to be an independent arbiter here.
Yes, because it undermines, once the public and the investor class and everybody else understands that the person in that job is listening to what Trump wants, then there is no longer any cop on the beat in terms of guarding against inflation. So most investors and most of the public that sort of follows these things will not have the confidence that inflation will be brought under control, won't have the confidence that there is a cop on the beat to prevent inflation from getting out of hand. You see the consequences of undermining public trust in the Fed. It's similar, it's analogous to undermining public trust in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. These are big deals. The public may not even know what the BLS and the Fed do, but believe me, the whole country depends, the economy depends, investors depend on these places being apolitical, non-political, and Trump is taking a wrecking ball to that fundamental, basic, foundational assumption.
Wow. It's bananas. Hold on, let me see. It's bananas. Oh, dang, I didn't say that. Hold on.
Would y'all try?
What say you?
Dang, I hope I didn't. Let me go to this one because I'm trying to find this special financial committee. Hold on.
Tonight, furious over a disappointing jobs report, President Trump fires the government official in charge of the numbers and the urgent manhunts in 2 states for armed and dangerous murder suspects. First, the president taking aim at the
What's the Navy commander?
Why were all these well-qualified senior military officials removed? The New York Times reports they were all, quote, dismissed as part of a campaign to root out diversity, equity, and inclusion from the military and restore what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has described as a warrior ethos, end quote. Indeed, Hegseth's views on women in the military are no secret. In his book, The War on Warriors, published just last year, while admitting that he believes women have performed well in support roles, quote, women in the infantry, women in combat on purpose is another story.
Dang, I hope
Dads
I
push
didn't
us to take risks. Moms put the training wheels on our bikes. We need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units, end quote. The Atlantic's Tom Nichols puts it plainly, quote, the message to the women of the United States from the current Commander-in-Chief and his Secretary of Defense amounts to a sexist warning. Feel free to join the military and serve your country, but know your place.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Bobby Jones here from Midas Touch and Valor Media Networks. In the wake of breaking news that President Trump has taken the unprecedented step of personally interviewing 4-star officer candidates in the American military, now is the perfect time to highlight how his administration is changing the highest ranks of the American military into its own Zampolit. The Zampolet were embedded Communist Party representatives aboard Soviet naval vessels and military units to ensure ideological loyalty to the USSR and the Communist Party. Trump is creating the American version, starting with the female flag officers. Since taking office in early 2025, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has overseen an unprecedented purge of high-ranking military leaders, disproportionately targeting women and other officers labeled as woke. In the name of eliminating wokeness and diversity programs from the ranks, Hegseth and the Trump administration have removed several trailblazing female admirals and generals from their post. Critics argue that these firings amount to erasing women's hard-earned progress in the U.S. Armed Forces, a rollback motivated more by ideology than merit. One by one, female military leaders have been fired or reassigned under dubious pretext. Hegseth, a former Fox News host with strong opinions on women in combat, has long criticized efforts to integrate the force. Just months before his appointment, he stated bluntly on a podcast, quote, "We should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective," unquote. Although,
So is that why he firing women? Before I mess around and lose,
Right. And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine.
I want to catch it when he first started talking about old Diddy. Then I can go to old boy. For the ones who still think there's hope for Doodle Diddy, you ain't going nowhere.
Sean Diddy Combs,
Right.
would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was
throwing
celebrating a victory,
slugs.
but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, you know, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you,
Yeah,
sir.
and it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings.
Y'all, problem. Oh, Lord, report the problem.
You knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office.
We got to get him while he on hostel. How y'all feeling about where he going? I want y'all to hear it. Where is pressure? I want him to hear it for himself. Diddy ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, you know, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well.
Yeah,
but
you
when
did.
I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
And it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But
do y'all hear that revenge? Do y'all hear that revenge coming out? He done took a deep breath. You know, I know we brought you in. We told you some of the things that we were doing. You were duplicating it, you know, and, you know, we were making money together. And, you know, yeah. Come on.
when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know. It's more difficult. It makes it more. I'm being honest. It makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs.
I would
sounds
say
like
so.
Okay. And what about George Santos?
Yeah, he said yeah. Y'all hear? Did y'all hear him say yeah? Yeah, it's a no.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Right.
would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
So, in other words, you helped him. Yeah, when it was taking them a long time, you was probably part of helping him with that half innocent crap. But he still was trying to threaten you. Yeah. He sent a toilet kite to your ass. He had Charlucci or his son send you a threatening message. I got something on you, man. You worried about the wrong person. You worried about Ghislaine. You need to be worrying about Diddy. Get me up out of her. Not here. Her. Yeah. Yeah, and so he went sent that special counsel that replaced Comey. And he is sticking it to you. I'm going to get over there. Let's hear this one more time.
He was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory.
You were celebrating too soon. He said, You were celebrating too soon. You ain't going nowhere. You bad boy for life. I love it. I love it. Yeah, he got too cocky too soon. He forgot his place. So they Bill Cosby in their ass. You understand? I don't know how else to say it. You were in with the good old boys until you went too far. Yeah. And we got to show you. Yeah. We make the rules and we break them. We let you in and we put you out.
You know, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
Yeah, and it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So, I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs,
I
it
would
sounds
say
like.
so.
Okay. And what about George Santos?
Annual hearing on the president's trade agenda.
It's a no for Combs. Did y'all hear it? It's a no for Combs. It's a no for the diddler. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere, y'all. Diddy ain't going nowhere. Let's get on back over him. He ain't going nowhere.
Can't nobody say shit. For Democrat or Republican. He has been described as a political independent.
Oh, no. This is the one from earlier. Hold on. He done been back since then. Oh, okay. It's over here. Hold on. I'm talking to myself. Hold on, y'all. Y'all know I be all over the place with it. He over here. Let's go. That's the same one from earlier, isn't it? Oh, now he ends Diddy on national TV. Dang, Diddy. Why Trump do you like that? He ain't have to do you like that, did he? Hey, Mrs. Tom.
Just name the channel who can bang with us.
One, if you guys can hear me in the comment section, we got a mic check going on right now. I got a mic check 1 2 1 2 right now. If you guys can hear me, press that in the comment section, man. And definitely let me know. Man, bro. Y'all can hear me? Make sure y'all go get A Weapon's new album. It's in the merchandise store. The links is all in the description box below this video, man. A Weapon the other day. And let me tell y'all something. These people on YouTube are clowns. Y'all mistake me for saying Sean Diddy Combs is done. This man is going to prison for the rest of his natural life.
You turned on me, Diddy.
People say, Tiki, what are you talking about, man? Bro, something else happened in court today, and I'm going to tell y'all. The judge, this part right here, let me tell y'all.
They sure been doing a lot of hearings, sealed, you know, all of that type of stuff. But let's listen.
Before we even get into what Trump just did to Diddy, which is destroy that Negro on national TV. That's why you never should lay down and trust these type of dudes.
Don't ever make deals with the devil.
On your screen, that part that was blacked out, the judge have demanded that the prosecution, he said, well, why did y'all redact that? Because y'all use pseudonyms, you use fake names in that redacted part. I think that the feds have something devious cooking for Diddy. Even the judge was confused to why the prosecution and the new guy, and remember I came on here and told y'all this morning, and they didn't want to listen to me?
Nah, y'all remember when I told y'all that he gonna be the sacrifice?
It was about Diddy. I came here and told y'all it was not about Diddy. The Marine Comey stuff to me was about something else. This guy right here on the right hand side of your screen, Jay Clayton, he is the man that was assigned by Donald J. Trump. We're going to get into the article right now. And I will, after this link is the stream is over with, I will put an article up here to you guys, and we're going to play the tape tonight. Donald Trump just went on national TV and buried Diddy. Diddy ass is done. That nigga going to prison, and that nigga ain't never getting out. And I'm talking about, if you think that when they, because let me say this again before I start. Once again, today, and I didn't even do a video on this, the judge tonight made a filing. The judge told the prosecution, yo, what are you doing? Like, why would y'all redact this? Like, what's going on? Is there something going on I don't know about? I personally believe secretly there's something that they're cooking up on Diddy that they will redact this part and not see it, because the judge didn't even know. So the judge is ordered by August the 4th for the government to unredact this, because he's seen the unredacted, but he says, you guys got pseudonyms. You guys got, like, they're using alias names. They're not revealing the names that they're putting in here. So the judge, he wants clarity on who's these other names y'all talking about. What are y'all talking about? To the government. I told y'all, Jay Clayton just took over. Who was Jay Clayton appointed by? He was appointed by Donald J. Trump. What did I come in here and tell y'all? Diddy ass going to prison for real, for the long haul. Why? Because why in the blue hell would Trump allow his guy, who was assigned to Diddy's case, to come out here in this writing and absolutely bury Sean Diddy Combs? Let me repeat myself again. Jay Clayton, who was assigned by Donald Trump, buried Diddy. And I told y'all that. And I came in here and told y'all last night, and I told y'all this morning on the videos. I said that is a horrible sign for Diddy. His ass is done. Because if Donald Trump was thinking about softening the blow, the man he put in there would have came in there and made it soft for him. I think that Donald J. Trump got his guy in there to see all the
November
stuff.
28th, 1953.
It was a lot of stuff that was left out of the court case. But the only way Trump could know everything that was involved in that case is by having his own man look at all those files that didn't make it to the case. So Trump could see who are they investigating. Remember, Trump's name came up as far as his hotel. Diddy was doing freak-offs.
More than his hotel.
Trump might not have known that until the trial.
Oh, yeah,
and that
he
shit
knew.
might have made him red hot, too, that this man was in his hotels doing these freak-offs, linking his stuff up with his name. But I'm going to tell y'all, Trump made a mistake tonight, too.
He knew that.
I'm going to tell y'all the big mistake Trump made tonight. So for you guys who don't know, and I'm finna play the audio for y'all, who don't know, Donald J. Trump just buried Sean Diddy Combs tonight on national TV. But I'm going to tell y'all something. Donald Trump also put himself, in my opinion, in a bad situation. I'm going to tell y'all why. Because when you talk about pardons and presidential pardons, the one thing you're not supposed to do is personal favors. Tonight, when Donald Trump did that interview on national TV, he basically kind of, I'm going to let you hear it. Because the way he was saying it was like, if Diddy would have stayed cool, maybe I would have pardoned him. I told y'all, Donald Trump petty like that. Y'all didn't listen to what I told y'all. But let's get into the article, and then we're going to go into this, right? So, let's talk about this first, right? Donald Trump signals that he's unlikely to pardon Sean Diddy Combs. And he took shots at Diddy too, heavy shots. In a recent development that has captured significant public attention, President Donald Trump has indicated that he is unlikely to grant a presidential pardon to music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, who was recently convicted on federal charges related to prostitution. The statement comes after months of speculation about whether Trump would use his executive clemency power to intervene in Combs' high-profile legal saga, which has drawn intense scrutiny due to the rapper's past association with Trump and the gravity of the allegations against him. Before I say go on, I'm going to play what Trump said. I'm going to tell y'all something. This is going to give them niggas going to go wild on Diddy. Because now the judge, he seen what Trump just said. He knows that Trump ain't going to come override his word. The United States attorney who was appointed by Trump, he seen that. He was already there, Jay Clayton. Man, that's why they said in the writing last night that they looking at significant time for Diddy. Go back to the paperwork. This is why I told y'all, I live in the paperwork. I don't live on YouTube listening to what these clowns say. I live in the paperwork. That nigga's going for the long haul. Period. To the person who said Jay Clayton's the independent. He's the independent that Donald Trump not only hired in 2017 as his SEC chairman, but he's an independent that Donald Trump just appointed as the new acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody, sucker. When it says DOJ, it's Donald Trump's Department of Justice, sir.
I'm laughing, but he ain't lying.
Hired this guy, and everybody thought when he fired Comey, it was because he wanted to help Diddy. It seems like now.
Who thought that?
The Undertaker has come.
I felt like he fired him because he didn't want all his dirt to come out. All of their dirt, all the predators that are associated with New York
Jay Clayton
and Florida.
Not only do they want Diddy's bail rejected, which that's out of here now. He said that they're looking for a significantly larger.
Why did TMZ not have nothing to say today? Ain't that odd?
Significantly.
Where's TMZ?
Higher sentence. But check this out, y'all. This is where it gets worse for Diddy. Donald Trump tonight on national TV destroyed Diddy, took shots at Diddy. He said, yeah, I heard his family, guys celebrating, but he's still sitting in jail. Matter of fact, let me play what he said. Because I can play what he said better than what I can tell you what he said. Ladies and gentlemen,
I don't know what he's celebrating for.
Not now, right now.
Asked me to do it. Sean Diddy Combs. Right. Would you consider pardoning him? Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent. Yeah. I don't know what they did. Still in jail or something. But, he was celebrating a victory, but I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably.
He said, let's stop right there, first of all, y'all. He said Diddy's team, all of them, they laughing at these people like buffoons.
The concert last night in Montreal
They out there in the corner, out throwing baby oil on each other, dancing, cheering, laughing, and Trump is looking at them like a bunch of buffoons. Like, look at these clowns. They all out here hooting, hollering, and screaming and cheering. And this fool is still sitting in prison. He's still sitting in jail. Listen to what Trump said. Trump buried in the first line. He's buried, and y'all sit up here. Oh man, Trump's gonna pardon him. He gonna put nigga, shut your bitch ass up. Come to my comment section playing these games with me, man. Y'all trust Donald J. Trump? You lost your damn mind.
Asked me to do it. Sean Diddy Combs. Right. Would you consider pardoning him? Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent. Yes. I don't know what they did. Still in jail or something. But
He's still in jail or something. But this is what's gonna get Trump in trouble right here, in my opinion. And that's a fine line. Everybody was running around here saying that Trump was gonna pardon Diddy because of the friendship. That's illegal. That is illegal. But Trump made it clear tonight that he's most likely unlikely to give Diddy a pardon. And he basically stated because Diddy turned on him.
Yep.
And didn't I tell you niggas? You think that Donald Trump is gonna put his neck out there for a brother that turned on him?
Revenge.
Shit, now let me let the whole thing play.
asked me to do it. Sean Diddy Combs. Right. Would you consider pardoning him? Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent. Yes. I don't know what they did. Still in jail or something. But, he was celebrating a victory, but he seems to, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, you know, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile. He said some not so nice things back there. And it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings. Right. And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office, and he made some terrible statements. So, I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do. But more likely a no for Combs? It sounds like, so. Okay. And what? Not have sex.
It's over with, bro. That man said more likely a no for Combs. He was like, yeah, I'd say so. Dog, bro, it's over with, man. It's a wrap, bro. It's a wrap, man. He was like, yo, that's more than likely a no for Combs. He was like, yeah, I'd say so. It's over with, nigga. Excuse me, Adrian, are you dumb? Are you dumb? I know you stupid when you talk basketball, but you can't be that damn dumb. Come on, bro. Smart enough, brother. I got too much respect for you, dog. You sound crazy as hell right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Diddy Combs just left the building. Not only did Trump clown this dude, he said, yeah, I seen him celebrating, but how much of a victory is that? I told these idiots on YouTube, a bunch of effing idiots. People up here cheering, throwing baby on each other, and this man still sitting in jail, facing 20 years. And they run around here, hey man, I'm telling you right now, man, this nigga still facing 20. And Trump just destroyed his ass. And, as I told y'all today, the judge has the leeway. The judge does not have to go by.
Well, it didn't happen, Harvey Levin.
The judge, as I told all these ignorant people today on the internet, didn't want to listen. Judge Submaranian has a wide latitude to consider factors beyond the guidelines.
Yeah, we don't
such
hear
as Diddy's
that.
character, the nature of the offenses. It said bail denied, smacked the gavel, in the whole courtroom looking like, what the hell is going on? That girl was in the court, she came in and told us. Everybody lost their mind, was like, what the hell? He denied bail. Yeah, bail denied, sucking his ass is going to prison. What the hell y'all think? Y'all think this shit is a game? And Donald Trump did what he did. Y'all wanted to trust Trump. Y'all hate Trump for everything and wanted to trust that he was going to pardon Diddy. Oh my God, bro. Well, don't y'all know that Trump do not join with his enemies? He stick to a code. He got a code and he stick to that shit. He don't respect nobody that go against him. And that's the thing. The problem is that Trump could have put himself in some trouble right there. Because you're not supposed to use pardon power
and how they're missing.
They letting him do what he want to do. Let's listen here.
I'm going to connect the dots right here between the relationship. Many things piss me off about mainstream media, how they're covering the Epstein case and how they're missing not only the dots, but how to connect the dots. I'm going to connect the dots right here between the
10%.
relationship, the close friendship between Todd Blanche, who is Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer masquerading as our number 2 in the Department of Justice, his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell's
Are y'all
lawyer,
listening
David
with y'all
Oscar
good ear?
Marcus, that goes back, well back in time, how neither of them have disclosed it, how it's part of the cover-up. And then one more link in the chain, the relationship between David Oscar Marcus and Alan Dershowitz, who was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, who negotiated the non-prosecution agreement back in 2008.
Non-prosecution
That let him off the
agreement.
hook and let him. Many things piss
Let's
me off
listen.
about mainstream media. How they're covering the Epstein case and how they're missing not only the dots, but how to connect the dots. I'm going to connect the dots right here between the relationship, the close friendship between Todd Blanche, who is Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer masquerading as our number 2 in the Department of Justice, his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, that goes back, well back in time, how neither of them have disclosed it, how it's part of the cover-up. And then one more link in the chain, the relationship between David Oscar Marcus and Alan Dershowitz, who was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, who negotiated the non-prosecution agreement back in 2008, that let him off the hook and let him continue the depraved sexual misconduct and preying on girls for a long time after that, and Dershowitz's role in that, and Dershowitz's connectivity, if any, between him and one of the most publicized victims, Virginia Joffrey, who Donald Trump, just in a moment of truth-telling, confessed that the reason that Jeffrey Epstein and him stopped having any kind of
What do you
friendship
mean,
is
play
because
tap?
he was poaching young
Did you hit
girls
the
from
like
Donald
button
Trump,
coming
and Donald
in?
Trump was mad about it. I'm going to tie all of that together on the Midas Touch Network
Oh, you-
in our
you-
hourly,
yeah, what is
daily,
play
weekly
tap?
coverage of the Epstein scandal cover-up and the stench that is hanging over the White House as a result.
It's
Take
funky.
a moment, hit the Midas Touch subscribe button, come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel that I do in collaboration with the brothers. Hit the subscribe button there as well. It's maddening to me that mainstream media will either report on a dot, on a fact, on a data point, and then ignore its implications, or won't
You're
connect the
welcome.
dots for you. And which is
Of the
why we
darkness.
formed Midas Touch and Legal AF to do it. I reported on this very relationship between David Oscar Marcus and Todd Blanche last week. And now mainstream media is just getting around to saying, hey, there seems to be a very close relationship between the two, and that might be part of the cover-up. You think? What am I talking about? Let's start with the first leg of this multi-sided conspiracy approach that I'm gonna talk about here. Todd Blanche, criminal defense lawyer for Donald Trump, gets promoted to be the number 2 at the Department of Justice when Trump wins election. He is the one that Donald Trump picked to go meet with Ghislaine Maxwell, but it wasn't just a random pick. And they gave her immunity before the meeting, not random, and they're considering a pardon, not random. The connectivity between Todd Blanche and David Oscar Marcus, who's the lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell, and David Oscar Marcus's relationship with Alan Dershowitz, all is now blown out into the open. So here's how it goes down. Todd Blanche is friends with David Oscar Marcus, the lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell. David Oscar Marcus got brought in by Alan Dershowitz, who had been the lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein. I always find it remarkable that Alan Dershowitz can go on Fox News and on Newsmax and all the right-wing media from his perch of being a former Harvard law professor without revealing that he was Epstein's lawyer who negotiated the non-prosecution agreement that is the basis for Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal to the United States Supreme Court, and his role in letting the guy continue to be a predator when he got a sweetheart deal negotiated with Alex Acosta, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, who eventually got promoted to be Donald Trump's labor secretary. You see the dots that get ignored? So Dershowitz never reveals that he was Epstein's lawyer. He says out loud recently that she is a victim because she's
took the fall for Epstein, who died before his trial could start. That was your client at one point. I mean, I don't know if because your client died under mysterious circumstances or not, you get to breach attorney-client privilege and say he's not guilty. He was guilty, not her. I don't think that's how that works, but we'll leave that for a minute. Here's the close relationship now between Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's favorite criminal defense lawyer, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who's a friend of Donald Trump's, had been a friend of Donald Trump, and her criminal defense lawyer. Let's play the clip of a Little Watch podcast that David Oscar Marcus has on. I watched it. I caught it. It's from a year ago, well back before this issue. Watch how they giggle like schoolgirls and how smug they are in their relationship. Run the clip.
Okay, I want to welcome Todd Blanche to For the Defense. Everybody knows who Todd is, and he's the first guest on For the Defense to appear twice. So welcome to the show, Todd.
That is an honor. Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate it.
So, I mean, you were a federal prosecutor. I'm sure you never could have imagined this when you were first starting out as an assistant United States attorney. How did you get here, Todd? How did you end up representing Donald Trump and being in trial in the first of its kind case?
Well, no, you're right, David. I'd never imagined, even during the trial, I would kind of check myself occasionally and be surprised at where I was every day.
What does that tell you about the friendship between the two of them? Thank you for being on. You're the first person. I'm honored to be the first person to ever appear twice on your Little Watch podcast. So here is confirmation of what I described a week or so ago. Here's how the conversation went. Trump to Blanche. You know her lawyer? I do. He's a good friend of mine. What's his name? David Oscar Marcus. Oh, I remember David Oscar Marcus. Yeah, we were considering hiring him for something else as well. He's a Federalist Society guy, friend with Dershowitz. Okay, give him a call. Find out what she's going to say about me. Right? This is my artist rendering. Find out what he's going to say about me. And if she's going to absolve me, and she's only going to dump on 100 other people, including people named Clinton, then you should go meet with her. And but we'll have to give her immunity. Of course, you're going to give her immunity to a convicted child sex trafficker. You should give her immunity, but start with your friendship. Call up Marcus, have him tell him he needs to tell you what she's going to say before I'll agree to let you give her immunity, and then you can go meet with her. Okay, let's go do that. Next scene. Next scene. Blanche to Marcus, or Marcus to Blanche in an email. Call me. All right, look, I can't give you much detail, but you're going to have to give me a proffer of what she's going to say.
They all friends.
And depending upon
all
what
full
your
circle.
proffer is, then I'll decide whether I'm going to give her immunity. The boss is going to give her immunity, and I'm going to meet with her. Oh, she's going to let Trump off the hook. She doesn't know anything about Donald Trump. He wasn't on the island. He wasn't on the plane. She doesn't have any relevant knowledge about Donald Trump. But she does have relevant knowledge about 100 other powerful people. Okay, I'm going to give you proffer immunity based on that proffer. I'm going to come up to Tallahassee for a couple of days. You and I can go grab a steak or a beer, and we can go sit down with your client. How's that sound? Sounds great. Let's do it. Okay. This is pretty close to what happened, by the way. You know? And Dershowitz pumping behind the scenes. They go up and have that meeting. None of them, Blanche doesn't disclose it, and David Oscar Marcus doesn't disclose their close personal friendship and relationship. And that's a problem, right? If you want to be transparent, you would say a version of the following. I have a relationship with David Oscar Marcus that predates this issue. However, it's not impairing my judgment or my decision making about my client.
I can't tell. She done been sent to Camp Cupcake.
I just want to clear up something. I have a relationship that predates this issue with Todd Blanche, but I'm not abusing it, and it's not an abuse of power or abuse of the friendship. But they would disclose it. Nobody discloses it.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the Midas Touch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast. If you have a case, it's the Pope. Really proud of you, Popak. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in.
By the way, you know these little chattering teeth on your nightstand. David Oscar Marcus sees a bank of microphones. He can't stop talking, even if it's not his bank of microphones. So he's constantly. It's all campaigning for the pardon, campaigning for the pardon. Yeah. So he never discloses that relationship. Blanche never discloses that relationship. It matters. Just as Epstein, when he goes on Fox News, doesn't disclose that he was Epstein's lawyer that negotiated the NDA, the non-prosecution agreement. He was accused by Virginia Giuffre of him having sex with her when she was underage, although she later sort of recanted that story, but he was embroiled in that. He never discloses that. He never discloses his close relationship with David Oscar Marcus. I had to find it. How did I find that close relationship between the two of them? I went on David Oscar Marcus's website, and there's a photo because he's so proud of being the mentee for his mentor, Alan Dershowitz, up in Harvard. So you get a geeky, nerdy photo. I mean, he's already geeky, nerdy, but it was worse. In the photo, here's the photo. So look at the dots here. Blanche and Marcus, tight. Marcus' client, Ghislaine Maxwell. Dershowitz brings in Marcus likely to represent Maxwell. He used to represent Epstein. He got accused by Virginia Giuffre. And Donald Trump's so upside down because you can't remember a lie as well as you can remember the truth. I mean, physiologically, brain science, they show if you're telling the truth or it's a true fact, it's burned into your brain, in the receptors of your brain, in your brain. But if it's a lie, it's sort of just free radical. It just travels lightly in your head. You got to keep track of it. Donald Trump can't keep track of it. And he goes to Scotland. He goes to Scotland where he's gassed. You know, it was too much golf where he cards at 18 because he gets a hole in one on every hole because his Secret Service that you and I are paying for pushing the balls into the hole. So he's gassed. He doesn't like to travel anyway. And he's giving interviews left and right. 90-minute speeches that don't make any sense in front of foreign leaders. And then he's asked about Giuffre and the falling out with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, his position had always been, quote, he was a creep and I barred him from Mar-a-Lago. We also heard that there was a falling out over a piece of real estate where they were both bidding on this $40 million piece of real estate in Florida, which kind of made more sense. But the creep thing never made sense. Because if you knew he was a creep, did you know he was a creep because he was raping girls? And shouldn't you have reported that to authorities?
Shouldn't you have reported it? If she stole, if he stole her.
I thought it hurt him. But then it got worse. Because then when he was asked, what was the falling out about when you barred him? He said it's because he was poaching and stealing young girls from me. I don't think that's a defense. It's a depraved defense. I was mad that he stole Virginia Giuffre from me, who was 17 years old, working in my spa, without seeing, talk about a blind spot. How about the fact that Virginia Giuffre and a lot of these women, where Epstein, under the blind or watchful eye of Donald Trump, turned Mar-a-Lago into his personal hunting ground? I don't think that's the aspect of the story. The blind spot is what Jeffrey Epstein did with the girls after he poached them from you, isn't it? And if you thought it was bad and he was stealing little girls and you knew that he liked young women because you gave a New York magazine interview back in 2003 and you thought that, then why didn't you report it to the authorities so that hundreds, if not thousands of women would have been protected? Here's the clip of Donald Trump. It's not even foot in mouth. It's shooting himself in the head. Here you go.
Just to button up on Mar-a-Lago, you're saying that Jeffrey Epstein poached 2 of your staffers. Who were they? Were they young?
I don't want to say 2, or I don't want to say any number you're talking about many years ago. But yeah, he took people, and because he took people, I said, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like, when they steal people, I don't like it.
You steal all the
Has a
time.
certain reputation, obviously. But just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women? What did they do?
In the spa.
In the spa?
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world in Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, God. And
in other words,
other
God
people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr.
question. Did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
All right. So those are the dots. I thank you, mainstream media, for coming around to connecting the dot that I did between Todd Blanche and David Oscar Marcus. David Oscar Marcus now and Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz to Epstein.
They all one big happy
Epstein,
family.
Dershowitz and Epstein
They
to
all
Joffrey,
in it
Joffrey
together.
to Donald Trump. There it is.
And the
it's
sacrifices
like
Diddy.
I put that board together for you.
And
I'm glad you're here with me.
And it came out of his mouth. He is not going to pardon Diddy. That's what he said today. Now you know he kind of and it may change tomorrow, but the way he moving, he needed sacrifice, and he on revenge. Oh, now they put it in writing. They put it in writing. Oh yeah, now Diddy. And I agree. He may get every bit of that 20 years, or if the judge has found out that some hanky-panky was going on, yeah, he may do the ultimate, because he knows, well, we don't know what was thrown out or not being charged, or whatever they had going on behind the scenes. A lot of that was taken out, but the judge knows it. Diddy may be out of here. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all later. I'm falling asleep. Have a good one. What time is it? 2 something in the morning? Okay, y'all. Good night.